All right, Robert, let's start with your numbers, Robert, so everybody understands how awesome you guys are doing. Just last year's numbers and where you think you're heading today.
1.2 last year billion and tracking for about the same this year.
All right, so you're going to remain consistent in a changing market. That's pretty awesome, dude. 1.2 billion in volume. What does that look like on the United States map? Like, where are you guys located?
We're in 18 states and in Canada as well. So, we cover basically all the coast as well as the Midwest, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Colorado, all the way down the coast and up, pushing into California now.
Oh, nice, man. I love that.
Your neck of
Congrats
the
on
woods.
that. Yeah, next to me. I love that. And before we start, how do people join? Like, if they have questions about the Lucido Group, how do people either get more information or just go ahead and join your group?
Yeah, so you can go to lucidocareers.com. I just dropped it into the chat box. So you can kill two birds with one stone. So you can check us out, but you can also see, if you're not a current Chime user, the design capabilities for the websites. So we have two websites, one for transaction basically, and one for careers and recruiting opportunities. So that's what that website is. So you can see the level of customization that Chime supports in the process.
Perfect. All right, man, let's get started. I want to know, we're going to talk about Chime Enterprise. We're going to talk about all that good stuff on the back end, but I want to know what other tech you use. Like what pieces do you have running around Chime that make it work better for you?
I mean, you name it. I mean, most recently we've built out integrations with Calendly. You name it. We every aspect of our business basically touches Chime. So everything is rooted in Chime, and then we build layers on top of it. So Calendly, we have tons of other integrations that go into the process. We do a lot of stuff through Zapier, so you don't have to be a tech whiz in order to build some of this stuff out.
Do you guys also use to track numbers? Do you use Sisu or no?
We do use Sisu.
All right, so Sisu, Calendly. You also use Zapier. What do you use Zapier specifically for?
We use Zapier to specifically accomplish things that the native integration may not be there with Chime. So with an example, Calendly was one that we built out a couple weeks ago. So we have we built out an integration with Calendly where it'll search for a lead and update the lead. And if it doesn't locate one, it'll create a new lead. So it basically will integrate. We're doing this on the recruiting side. So that's another example. So we're using Chime for recruiting as well.
I love that. All right, Chime Enterprise, how is that different from the regular Chime that most people see?
It's different in a few different ways. So the primary one is obviously it's tailored towards either large groups, already large groups, or groups that want to scale. Because last thing you want to do, if you are committed to growing your team and you're absolutely adamant and you're driven, you don't want to jump onto a CRM that's going to break essentially when you do achieve that goal. You don't want to have any log jams or bottlenecks that materialize 2 years down the road just because you had somewhat of a limiting belief right now. Like, I can settle for this CRM that's designed for a single seater, or this CRM that's designed for a single instance. With Chime's enterprise product, your ability to scale is virtually limitless. I think first iteration was 500 levels deep and 500 levels wide in each step. So with our organization, we're able to onboard teams in less than 48 hours because of how it's set up and the ease of which we can do it. And, we are privileged to be a part of the build out process on that. So we can speak firsthand that if you want to grow, if you want to set up new locations, if you want to add agents very easily to those locations, Chime's enterprise product is bar none.
All right. I like that. So tell me some of the challenges in growing this massive organization that you have. What are some of the challenges you're noticing just over the last few months in growth?
Well, it always comes down to the local leadership. Local leadership is a key determinant of actual success. You can give them the same tools and they're going to achieve different levels of success. And why is that? It basically comes down to local leadership and the results they're able to drive with themselves, but also through their team. So that would be the biggest thing right now. I think a key determinant, and not just in real estate, but especially in real estate, because of, to be frank, the barriers to entry in real estate are at the floor. So anyone can enter the industry. So while that's on one hand, the other hand is if you're in the top percent, if you're the most driven, if you're the most accountable, you're going to stand out even more. So I think taking ownership and leadership at the local level is probably the most important thing right now.
Right.
In terms of, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I was just going to bring it back a little bit more on the tech centric side. I guess when you're scaling, so if you're a local team right now, if you have a single location or whatever it may be, or maybe you have a couple locations in the immediate area, as soon as you start stepping out of your immediate driving range, your value prop is going to start diminishing. Let's say if your number one value prop is your personal brand, let's say you're a big agent in your community.
Yeah.
The second you set up shop in a location that's outside of immediate driving range, people aren't going to know you. They're not going to know you as well as they know you in your neighborhood and your farm. So if your value prop is only around things that are highly local, you're going to have challenges as you try to scale. So that's one of the reasons why we're so focused on tech, is because with tech, we can deliver equal value, no matter whether they're in our hub in Maryland or whether in the Canada, Phoenix, wherever it may be, Texas, Florida, we can deliver equal value on the tech side.
Got it. What do you think makes your agents successful? Because you and I have talked about this in the past as far as success. And when we talked, I was really impressed that the agents that are with you are actually making great money too. And you gave me some different answers, but I want you to tell us, what do you think the secrets are of the success of your agent?
Well, last year, just to throw out a number, last year on average, our agents generated 178,000 in GCI. So one of the metrics that we track is exactly that, the success of our agents, because ultimately we won't be successful unless our agent partners are. And that's gonna drive, things like retention and so forth. It really comes down to putting them with the right tools and the right structures around them. We believe that onboarding is a key differentiator, and that's our focus in Q4 and Q1 of next year. It's really mastering the onboarding process, because those are key determinants in reaching those aha moments like we talked about in the last webinar.
All right, good, man. I like that. I have a question as far as tools when it comes to, I'm assuming the agents. What tools do you think the agents use the most that they say, you know what, this is important. This has been great for our business specifically. Well,
And Chime specifically?
It can be anything, but what do you see that the agents use the most?
Well, a key differentiator and why our agents have been successful even this down market is our ISA program, which is fully enabled by Chime's enterprise product. So this was one of the reasons why we switched over, is because on our previous CRM, where every team was its own instance, we weren't able to easily facilitate a nationwide ISA program. To give you an example, if a lead came into Georgia for Florida, we didn't have a way to get that to our Florida team. So as a way, in that light, there's a lot of waste built into the system and a lot of extra effort built into the system to try to facilitate it. So with Chime's enterprise product, all the leads essentially live in one bucket with different dividers. So you're able to pass leads all back and forth, and essentially there is no wasted leads at that point. In terms of specific tools in Chime, our agents are really using those engagement tools that Chris mentioned. It's so simple. It's point and click. You click in to add it, and then you specify the city, and then you set it and leave it. Our open rate on those are over 50%. You're going to look like the local market expert, and you set it and leave it. Now, I did see a question in the chat box really early on, which was in regards to smart plans and how do you do it so you don't seem super redundant and so forth. And this admittedly is a challenge, especially with SOI plans. One of the ways you can overcome that is with the market reports, because it's a non-pushy way. You're delivering value. It's no additional work to you. Just set it and leave it, and it'll send them a market report or a market snapshot once a month, once a quarter, however you specify. So that's a really good way to deliver value, staying top of mind without being pushy.
I like that. Somebody's asking if you're similar to Ojo. No. So, Ojo leads, the leads that people get with 30%. So no, not yet. Not similar to Ojo. Robert runs a full-on real estate team inside of a brokerage. So they just run it like a massive business, and they do a great job of it, obviously. So great question, though. Great question. Can you tell us more about your ISA program? What does that look like, Robert?
Well, last month, we actually had our best month on record, despite the down market. We were actually up 62% year over year. We've already set 55 appointments this week, and Monday was a holiday. So we're rocking and rolling. We have a new VP of sales that joined us a few weeks ago. That's really taken us to a whole nother level. I guess in regards to our ISA program, we're setting and qualifying opportunities and setting these hot appointments for our partners across the country now. What in particular would you like me to go into?
Well, I want to go in a little deeper because I think I know what they're asking. With the ISAs, who are they focused on calling? Are these online leads that are coming through? Are they nurturing the database? Who are the ISAs calling to then send them over to your team and say, hey, this is a possible hot lead?
Yeah, any of our company leads, so the entire database. So we're doing everything. Chris mentioned a few of the integrations at the end. We just did a slide broadcast jump drop, for example, on Labor Day for a client party we have this weekend. So that's one example of how we're basically hitting it on all fronts to drive conversion and drive opportunity for our partners.
I like that. And what does your ISA team look like right now? And is it in the United States? Is it spread all around the world? What does this look like?
It's all onshore. We have a few different hubs across the country, one of which is in our main hub in Maryland. We're launching a hub hub out in Phoenix, and we have one in the Midwest. That's how we're set up. So we cover all time zones, which is important because we have coverage across 7 days, as well as early in the morning and late into the evening. And then we have the AI assistant overnight. So we fundamentally have continuity of coverage across all 7 days.
I like that, man. Let's dig deeper on Google PPC and Facebook lead ads. Are you currently doing both or only one?
For cold capture, just PPC.
PPC. All right. Same as us. We're only on Google PPC right now. You run most of it, all of it, some of it through Chime, because I know you work really closely with their PPC team. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's all run through Chime. We used to have it fragmented on our previous CRM. We were on Boomtown before. So we consolidated it about 2 years now. And our conversion rate based upon the month is either 2x or 6x within 30 days of conversion. So we're really happy, and we love the trend lines that we're seeing right now.
All right. As far as Google PPC goes, what makes your team more successful with it? Because you and I hear all sides of what Google PPC is or isn't, right? When the lead comes through, can you take me through that process so people understand what it should look like?
Sure.
So that's clear.
Let me share this. I threw this together because I figured this would come up when I was on the call.
You knew it would come up. There you go.
So the number one mistake people make with lead gen is they conceptualize it as one step. I got a lead, it either converted or it didn't. And if it didn't convert, it was what? A bad lead. It's always the lead. It's always the lead. It's never the person, right? It's always the arrow, never the Indian. So the first thing is wherever you're doing your online lead generation, you need to conceptualize that as being in this green box. Everything outside that green box is on your shoulder. You can, just because you may have, you may switch to Google PPC, you may work the ads team, they may do a great job in optimizing campaigns. Do not think that business opportunities are just going to drop into your pocket, whether or not you contact and nurture them. So the first thing is to conceptualize, this is how we view our conversion process. It's not one step. It's basically really three phases. The first phase is the pre-qualification. So this is very standard in how big corporations generate leads. They start with Q1, which is unqualified contact. You're basically purchasing contact information. With Google PPC, you're getting contact information that's associated with a high intent activity, which is going to Google and searching for something that's demonstrating intent. To anchor it back to what Chris was saying, if you pop into your any Chime profile, if you do ads through Chime paid lead, this is what he was mentioning. So whenever any of our Chime paid leads that come in, we can see exactly what they searched, which led them to registering on our website. So this person was home value estimator. This person was Zestimate home value. This person was house for sale in Columbia, Maryland. So right off the bat, when we already know what brought them to us, and we're able to nurture at a higher level with that regard. So Q1, we get unqualified contact information. Q2 is we verify that the contact information is valid. This is both done automated and manually. So that's Q2. And then finally Q3, which is an MQL, marketing qualified lead. That's when we confirm that it's real contact information that matches the person. When you do digital advertising, you are trying to maximize your MQLs. And I really think if you're going to be fair about it, if you're going to assess lead quality, you assess it based on MQLs, not based upon necessarily what closes, because now you're bringing in a whole other variable into the equation, which is how you and your team are following up and nurturing these leads. When we do audits of different teams, we see speed to leads of 2, 3, 4 days. When you're doing that, you're essentially giving 12 other realtors a head start on you by 2, 3, 4, 5 days, because on average, a lead is sold 12 times. So you have to think about it. I mean, this year we're heading for probably less than 5 million transactions. That doesn't mean only 5 million leads were sold. Tens of millions of leads were sold.
Yeah.
So if you think about it as a race and a marathon, you got to race speed to lead and be consistent. That's where it really comes in with the conversion funnel. So then we get into the conversion, which is appointment set, appointment met, agreement under contract and close. And then phase 3 is database management. So that's how we conceptualize the overarching of how we measure it. And we measure KPIs at each step.
I have a question on where on each one of those rectangles does the ISA come into place? Which one?
Yeah.
Where?
So ISAs come into place across Q3 and C1. So they're verifying that the contact information matches the person, marking it as an MQL. and then they're nurturing, qualifying, and converting that opportunity. And not until it's converted does it go to C1, which is when the agent comes into the equation.
Got it. At any point, do agents get leads directly, or do they all go through your ISA program?
In certain markets, we have some leads that go directly to agents, but we're shifting towards all leads moving to the ISAs. That's a top priority. And right now, the majority go to the ISAs.
How do you keep your ISAs trained so that you know they're saying or they're connecting with people the best way possible, whether it's by text or call or email? So at least you know the dialogue is there. How do you do that?
The question is, how do we train them, or
how do you train them, and how do you make sure that they stay on it as well? Because training is one thing, and then continual education is a different thing.
So the first thing is meritocracy thrives in daylight. So we publish stack rankings twice a day, both on activities and performance. So our ISAs see how they stack up against the other ISAs twice a day. And then we're also moving to publish that in the same cadence for agent stack rankings and then team leader stack rank. So the first thing is be transparent. If you're going to measure something, be transparent with that measurement, because that's ultimately what's going to drive that performance you're looking for. The second thing is we have a VP of sales who's absolutely outstanding, and he's been delivering incredible results with our ISAs. I've never seen him more excited. You know, on day one, he tripled standards on them, and I've never seen him more excited. And the results have been really striking. So he runs point on training and managing the ISAs. And one of the ways he does that is through transparency around stack rankings.
Is that what you would say has been the secret to the success you've had with the ISA program?
It's one of them. Remember, I wouldn't ever say it's one single factor. I would say in the last few weeks, it's been probably the single largest determinant of recent success. But you know, you can't exclude any part of this equation, because the ads team is doing a really great job for us on increasing our Q3 rate. And then the ISAs are engaging on that and converting those. And then we have agents in the equation, and we have better accountability on the agents. So if you look at any one variable in isolation, well, then you can, you know, look, if you exclude the pre-qualification phase, then your top of the funnel is shrinking. If you exclude the agent side of the equation, then you're generating a lot of leads, a lot of opportunities, and they're not closing. So now you're just flushing money down the drain. So I really don't think you should look at it as one single variable. You should really look at it as three phases, and you have to maximize performance across all three phases.
Nice. And are all ISAs compensated pretty much the same, or do you have different ones doing different things, so you pay them different?
They're all compensated relatively the same. Okay. It's a production role, and so we have accelerators where our ISAs can make a really good living. We pay our ISAs well. We pay our ISAs above market as a base, but then everything has accelerators, so our ISAs can make six figures, especially with the levels of performance they're delivering now.
That makes sense, dude. Of course, because this is a sales business, so of course driven that way. Great one. Chris, if you're listening in, because I know you were just on and helping out Robert too. Chris, somebody has a question. How do we get a hold of customer service if they want to get on Google PPC? So if you could answer that, or anybody else on the Chime side, if you want to put a link to Google PPC or getting a hold of anybody on Chime, that would be great. There's some other questions there. We can answer those later. All right.
Hey guys, sorry. Were you asking for me?
I was asking you, buddy. Asking you. Somebody, I've had it a few times in the chat and in the Q&A. How do we get a hold of Chime to sign up for Google PPC? Where do we find more about it?
So I'll get you guys that link again from our system and drop that in again to the chat. Otherwise, go to your chat within your CRM and just let support know, and they'll create a ticket for us.
Perfect. He'll put up a link that works, Valbona. There you go. That link should work for you guys, and we'll go from there. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for jumping in, and thanks for wearing a cool shirt.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, Robert, back to you, buddy. What are you excited about using next or integrating with Chime? Because I know you're always testing out a lot of things.
Well, the first thing is, and I got permission to mention this, Chime has a recruiting product that they're developing. It's in beta now. So we've been operating on a recruiting platform. We have set 77 appointments in the last 14 days, recruiting appointments. So if you build out the proper engine, empower the proper people to run with that engine, you're going to get the results. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve. So if you're an enterprise, if you're a team, if you want to grow, I would really recommend that you reach out to your CSM or someone and just inquire and see what timeline looks like, because it's made a massive differential in our business just over the last 2 weeks.
What if we wanted to skip all that and just say, you know what, we just want to join the Lucido group? Because you guys have everything in place. It sounds like a lot of people with you are making good money. So what does that look like if we wanted to join again? Can you put that link again?
Yeah, sure. Go to lucidocareers.com, just register and leave a message and we'll make sure we get back to you. Or you can email me at robertlucido@lucidoglobal.com and lucidocareers.com.
There you go. And then somebody wants to follow you on Instagram. What's your what's your handle, bro?
It's at Robert Lucido Jr.
Yeah, there you go. All right, question for you.
Really good
about
at branding, everybody. And Robert's got his logo in the top left corner. If you look for him on Instagram and on Facebook, that logo is very present. Remember that branding that he does across all platforms. He's easy to find.
Yeah, that's very true. Good point, Chris. Good point on that. Question for you about this whole recruiting thing. I'm assuming that when you're hiring agents, and this is for every team and brokerage listening in, when you're hiring teams or you're hiring individual agents, what's the process look like for you to hire the right person that fits your organization? Because I'm assuming you also, from talking to people, you're like, yeah, sorry, ain't gonna work, right?
Yep. So, just to give you, so we have a whole system that's set up, basically multiple pre-qualification steps. And then the first step of the onboarding experience is basically they have to go through a week and prove to us that they're invested and want the opportunity to join our organization. So if you're a team, if you're growing, if you want to start a team, whatever situation you may be in, if you set your standards at the floor, you're going to get what you tolerate. So I would suggest that you don't make it as easy as you think to join your team. In fact, raise the bar, make it harder for them to join, make them prove it to, because at the end of the day, no one wants to join an organization that's average or below average, or at least how that's perceived. People want to join an environment. They want to join into an ecosystem or an inner circle where they feel it's of high value. So
Yeah.
Get what you tolerate, raise your standards. So that's how we are going with our onboarding.
Yeah, what a great saying, dude. Get what you tolerate. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Last question for you, and then I'm going to let you pick what we're going to give away. Question. Here it is. What are the top 3? That was a great question. It's not mine. What are the top 3 lead gen sources for you guys?
Everyone always asks this question.
I know. I want to know too. I want to know. Well, Google PPC is one of them. So there you go.
Okay. So what I can tell you, I'll give you a direct answer, but what I can tell you, far more important is the leads, the gym. Love it.
The gym. That's funny. He follows you on Instagram. There you go.
He does. All right. So far more important than the lead source is how you engage and how consistently you engage with that lead. A friend of mine is an executive with a pharmaceutical company. He runs a sales force of just in his region, 500 people. So he tracks everything down to the call frequency. They have to call their prospects at least 4 times a quarter. They measure all these KPIs. So if you're obsessed with lead source, that's only one small aspect of the equation. You really need to master your conversion process. And I'll just throw out a few best practices. You need to call within the first 60 to 120 seconds. You should ideally, if you don't get them, you should call back. You should call 4 times in the first 4 days. You basically need to do these things if you want to convert it. And there's data that backs up to that. 30% of your conversions are going to come in the first 60 seconds. 50% of them are going to call within the first 2 calls. So why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone, make 2 calls in the first 60 seconds? Easy. So we also see it all the time when leads go directly to agents. If they call and don't get them, they give up. They're like, oh, I called, left voicemail. It's like, oh, almost like what was it, Punches Pilot, where he's washing the blood off his hands. He's like, oh, I gave it my best shot. No, if you want to be consistent, before I give you a direct answer, 50% are going to come within the first 2 calls. 30% within the first 60 seconds. So that means you should be doing that. But if it means it goes beyond that, you average about 26 touches to convert. So it's in your best interest speed to lead, because if you don't have good speed to lead, it's going to require much more work to get an ROI on that lead. All right, lead sources. First, obviously, is Google PPC. The second and most important in our advantage is organic. A lead on average is sold 10 to 14 times. It's cut it down the middle and say 12. You're competing against all these other people for that same lead. The one area where you're not competing is on leads that you generate and own, leads that come to your website. Our website traffic has, it tripled last year. It's tripled again as of July.
Wow, dude.
So we have tens of thousands of uniques each month, which no other team that we've encountered comes even close to it.
Is that because you're doing a lot of blogging, working on the SEO? Where does that come from?
It comes from our consumer experience, which is bar none from expansion organization. You can search for properties. I saw there was one team that I was looking at that was advertised on their homepage that searched for over 10,000 properties. And I was like, that's nice. You can search for well over 1 million on ours. So we're developing a search experience that rivals that of Zillow and Redfin and Realtor. That's our direction as we continue to expand. So the first thing is you have to deliver a consumer experience that's conducive for how users behave online. If your website can only work in one small area because you're connected to one MLS, you're going to probably get 200 to 400 people a month to your website. And you're just basically checking a box at that point. So the second thing is organics. Our website traffic extremely high. Our websites are really well designed. We're constantly driving people back to our website. Yes, with blogs, but also with our smart plans. Our smart plans have a 32 to 35% open rate. Industry average is 19. We're driving them back to the website with remarketing, and our remarketing is tied with very much things from B2B marketing. So that's where our marketing department really comes in and is stepping up. So I would say the number one lead source you should be focused on is organic, because that's where you can really differentiate yourself from all the other lead sources where there's competition. And basically it comes down to whoever's willing to pay the most at auction for that lead. So if you want to get out of a bidding war, then generate your own leads. And then third, it's a little bit archaic, but open houses. I mean, from our ISA department, 68% of our closings last year were on the listing side. So on average, those generated 12 to 14 opportunities for us. So by using the open house forms, we capture those in real time. And also we know data-driven that our data capture rate goes up, the verified contact information goes up, as opposed to using paper forms where people, scribble, you can't read their handwriting or so forth. So the third I would say is open houses, which, is not old fashioned, or it is a little old fashioned, but it can be a really effective lead source for you. To compare it, if people go online and they type in Google homes for sale, we say, hey, we want to advertise to that lead and we're willing to pay 30 to 50 bucks for it because they're demonstrated high intent. If someone comes physically to an open house in front of you, that's even higher intent. So if you're not hosting open houses, why not? And if you're not using Chime's open house form to capture them in real time, why not? I mean, to give you one last thing, open houses, we use the open house form, they register, it populates in real time. When I was hosting open houses, it goes right to my phone. So I would have all their information in real time. Chime would scrub social media. It would pull in their Facebook or their LinkedIn profile. I would know where they work, what their position was. And we had smart plans that were built out in tandem to engage right away. So a year and a half or 2 years ago, when we were in lockdown with COVID, we could only have 2 groups in the house at a time. So by definition, we had a significant line out there. So we had people registering on the open house form. The smart plan would engage and they would be driven to our website. So people would be on our website searching for properties well before they even stepped into the house.
That's so good. I love that. And then you don't have to worry about the follow-up as much because they're being followed up with, right? So
most people have an open house. They do their best to convert it. And then what does that person do? They go to the next open house. And if they're walking into that open house unrepresented, then that agent's trying to get them. Yeah. So most agents would then follow up maybe Monday, Tuesday, if at all. With our smart plans, we're engaging right away. We're engaging 2 hours later. We're engaging the following morning. So we have a much better speed to lead than any other competitor that's hosting an open house.